And a good midday on this Saturday. Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards forecaster. For the outlook, the big picture, of course, we're looking at a little disturbance here that's cutting across the Great Lakes. This is going to be weakening as it does so, but there could be a little bit of shower activity, especially in the southern counties of Vermont. Maybe just a quick sprinkle further up to the north, but even that looks pretty shaky. That's all going to move through, it looks like, tonight. And then we're going to be seeing more or less a ridge of higher pressure build back into the region. And this is going to be the controlling influence along with a warm spell, or you could even call it a heat wave. It does look like right now we're going to see indices, heat indices that could get into the low and mid 90s. All of this takes place starting Monday, Labor Day. That'll continue, it looks like, through Thursday of next week. So a pretty hot one just around the corner, and with higher dew point temperatures ranging anywhere from the mid 60s, at times hitting the low 70s, especially late in the day, advertised. This is going to be a bit of a humid stretch, and a whole lot of summer is going to return. At the end of it, there will be enough of accumulation of tropical moisture, higher P-watts, precipitable water, that we're looking at some robust thunderstorm activity. Not a lot of shear, but a fair amount of cape, and if we have the instability in the morning with some sunshine, we're looking at maybe some strong, locally severe thunderstorms potentially. That would happen along about Thursday afternoon. Another robust day probably Friday, and maybe some lingering business on Saturday. But that's going to be toward the end of the period and then beyond the period. Looking at temperatures currently right now, this is the way things are shaping up. We have fairly mild conditions, not too bad, but temperatures are on the warm up. Our dew point temperatures are also on the increase here. You can see 60s. And this is Idalia. Idalia is going to be taking a track, and it's going to be messing with the eastern Canadian Maritimes around Nova Scotia, potentially messing with Newfoundland here. But for the most part, it's really going to be to our east and really not a factor except a little bit of a circulation that could throw in some high and mid-level clouds on us at times as we get into the late part of the week. But the overall trend, the ridge of higher pressure is going to be the main story, and that's going to be heat. Not a lot to see currently, but down in the southern parts of the U.S. into Florida, that's where all the heat indices are. I'm fully expecting that to expand and work into the Ohio River Valley, up the Appalachians, and into the northeast United States as we head into Monday. So we have the European on the left and the Canadian model on the right-hand side. Both these are the ensemble models. This is the main shortwave trough that's going to try to brush by Vermont and bring in just a little bit of shower activity. Canadian model kind of indicates that. Now, if you look at the GFS model, GFS is not including that. So it's two models against one. It does look like probably the chances are there to see something light to pass through during the night tonight, but it's very, very limited. So anyway, that gets out of here pretty quickly, and we build that ridge of higher pressure on Sunday and into Monday. Note this is Idalia, and Idalia is going to try to take a track toward Nova Scotia and then kind of loop around. This is the main weather system that's going to encroach on the region, pick up some Gulf of Mexico moisture, and then this is fairly late in the period here, of course. This is for basically Thursday afternoon. Looks like fairly robust on Friday. That's just beyond the period. And then along about Saturday also, some lingering shower and thunderstorm activity before things begin to improve along about Sunday. Now, the GFS, a little bit different on this idea. So looking at the GFS ensemble, we'll back it up here just a bit. So this is Idalia. GFS takes it more and kind of just kills it over the colder waters of the North Atlantic. And you can see that both of these systems are fairly robust once we get into the late part of the week, with Friday probably the single biggest day here for showers. And we're looking at probably 2 to 3 sigma for standard deviation above normal rainfall. So this is a pretty humid air mass, and it's definitely going to interact as this trough will be out to the west, and we have this frontal boundary all juiced up. This is the 3-hourly QPF over 3 hours. You see a couple little spots here with some showers. This is what's going to take place basically late tonight and into the day on Sunday, morning hours I should say, and then we dry things out, and it indicating another shot somewhere along about Monday. Now the total precipitation looks like this, and really not a whole lot to look at here, so I would discount these. Overall, we're looking at that late week phenomenon on the 7th, Thursday, and then continuing to see much more rainfall with higher precipitable water. Let's check that out real quickly. So P watts look like this, and you can see that we kind of ramp it up very slowly. Looking at the CAPE, convective available potential energy, the day to watch would be Thursday, not as much Wednesday, although instability factors will be right there. But if you put CAPE over shear, and we're looking at some low shear here, about 15 knots. These would be slow movers, meaning the thunderstorm activity that will be pushing into the region late in the week will not be going anywhere very quickly, so they'll unload a lot of water. So we're looking at high precipitable water as well, combining. Slow-moving thunderstorms usually means some pretty good flooding or flash flooding potential, so we could see some of that around the corner. Shear is not going to be a big deal, but CAPE is still right there. And last but not least, our temperatures. Looks like our dew point temperatures make a big rise here. We're going to be up around 65 to 70 degrees once we hit the mid part of the week, and it does look like all of that begins on Labor Day with higher heat indices. Total QPF, next 7 days of rainfall, just beyond the period. That would include this Thursday as well as Friday and Saturday. So what you're looking at here is about 1/4 of an inch with about 1/2 inch up in the northern tier regions. So we're looking at below normal precipitation with near normal precipitation up in the northern areas. The main branch of heaviest rainfall appears to be taking place up in Canada, and that's well north of the St. Lawrence Valley. And then a secondary off the coast, of course, with the hurricane. 2-meter temperature anomalies, you can see just how warm it is from coast to coast across Canada. U.S., we've seen a little bit of that tug of cooler air mass, and that's in the process of moderating upward. So over the next 5 days, we're looking at 12 to 15 degrees above normal. And 3 days later, about 12 degrees above normal. So a pretty decent stretch of warm to hot weather just ahead with higher dew points. That means high humidity. And you put it all together with that high humidity, you get high heat indices in the low and even some mid-90s around. Looking at the tropical weather, of course, we have IDALIA. It's a post-tropical cyclone. We have GERT that's spinning out to sea. No problems here. CATIA could be a problem. I don't think it's going to be CATIA, but it probably the system that's coming off the west coast. This could be just cutting across the Lesser Antilles somewhere along about this coming weekend. So it's going to take quite a ways to get there. That's the way things are looking right now. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.